That was a part of their plan. They said that back in the 60s. They're going to create Black Lives Matter, and then they're going to piss off the Aboriginals. They're going to destroy the true history and understanding of the Aboriginals so that they don't realise that they're actually separate tribes with unique cultures and unique peoples. Each tribe has slightly unique Dreamtime stories, everything. Alright? They want to destroy that variety, the diversity of Aboriginal tribes and cultures. G'day, this is Raymond Foster, Senate candidate for Queensland from the Australian Vanguard, a not-for-profit civil rights organisation where we fight to defend the well-being of Western kind. Now, what we whom advocate for the well-being of our folk can find interesting about this specific article is it illustrates the anti-white un-Australian attack on our culture and people. To lay a bit of groundwork and a bit of context for those of you whom either just aren't aware or aren't Australian, it's quite common, and it has been for some time now, for certain Aboriginal interest groups to complain about colonisation and demand native title rights, etc. And as white Australians, we happily voted in a referenda to make Aboriginal citizens so they can vote as well. They have a say in our democracy. We gave them this power. We gave them the Native Title Act. We gave them rights to their native lands, okay? Everything that could have possibly been done to protect the native peoples, the Aboriginals, their culture, their way of life, their access to traditional land, everything has been protected. It's all written in law. It's been in law my entire life. And Aboriginal culture and everything has been 100% protected by law. Okay, so I'm not against Native Title Act or Aboriginals' culture and their land being protected. I just think that we should also have those same rights. They shouldn't have extra rights and black privilege above ourselves. They shouldn't be first-class citizens because they're Aboriginal, and then the rest of us second-class citizens because we don't have black skin. That's not fair. We live in a democracy, equality under the law. It shouldn't matter what colour your skin is, alright? It shouldn't matter if you're white or black or anything. We should all be treated the same under the law. Aboriginals shouldn't get extra and get away with things and, have extra rights. That's not fair. That's corrupt, okay? Because technically that's not extra rights for Aboriginals. That's just less rights for everyone else. So that means everyone but Aboriginals has their actual full human rights, which is inhumane, and it's not equality. Okay, so let's get a reading on here and let's have a little look-see. Origin Energy chairman dismisses Beetaloo Basin Indigenous elders' opposition to fracking during AGM. So let's see the key points. The Beetaloo Basin is a massive shale gas resource 400 kilometres south of Darwin. Origin says it respects traditional owners' connection to country, which is their Native Title Act or Native Land Title, right? Their rights to their land. But only communities near drilling sites need to be consulted. Okay? So Origin has followed the law. They've consulted the local tribes in that area where they're doing their mining or they're fracking for the gas. And it's okay by those local elders. They're allowed to do it. But like in all of these situations, it's the same as what happened, the Pillar Bar mines or whatever with Rio Tinto. They got permission from the local elders in that area. They spent $10 million out of their own pocket. $10 million out of their own pocket to collect Aboriginal artifacts, all right, and cultural items and put them all in, safely protect them, look after them, and put them all into a museum. Alright, so nothing was destroyed. You can go to the museum and you can see it all because they spent $10 million to protect everything. Yet, for the past, 3-4 months, leftist media, anti-white un-Australian media outlets have been making stories about this mining operation in Rio Tinto, in the Pilbara area, whatever it is, where Rio Tinto blew up a mine. They excavated an old cave so that they could start a new mining operation. Alright? This has been blown up for months and months as if Rio Tinto ignored the local elders. They went ahead even though they didn't have permit, and they're just making up all this nonsense lies when no, that the operation, when Rio Tinto blew up that Aboriginal cave, they had already spent $10 million. They already collected everything. They postponed the job for years so they could spend $10 million, so they could collect all of the Aboriginal artifacts, so that they could talk to the local elders in the area of those local tribes involved in that land, alright, who own that land, the tribes of that land, who gave them permission to do it, alright? That's what actually happened, but the media has been spinning the story as if Rio Tinto just went ahead and blew up a cave without permission, and then, oh no, look, these Aboriginals are complaining and didn't give permission. But the thing they're leaving out, which they haven't in this article, which is very convenient for myself and for our understanding of this situation, is the fact that the only Aboriginal elders that complained were tribes and elders and Aboriginals and mostly university students from the city who have no cultural connection or tribal connection to the actual native tribes of the area who gave permission, but other elders from other tribes and university students are the ones who complain and say, we weren't consulted, they didn't ask for our permission. Well, guess what? Nobody has to ask for your permission because you're not a part of the tribe who owns that land. This is another thing, maybe this is another bit of context you might need to understand. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of separate Aboriginal tribes, right? Different Aboriginal peoples, like nations, like how we got Australia, one nation, Australia, Aussies. Yeah, well, in Aboriginals, it's not like that. There isn't one group of Aboriginals. No, there's hundreds of separate tribes. And they all own individual little pockets of land, or they did. And they have native title rights to individual bits of land. So just because you have an Aboriginal, that doesn't mean they have native title rights to the whole country. No, they're only to their tribal ancestral lands where their specific tribe lives. And they have no say over the other tribal lands of other different tribes of Aboriginals, because they're different peoples with different law, different elders, different boundaries. This is a big part of understanding this whole situation. If you don't understand this, then you might be confused and you might think that, hey, these Aboriginals in university, they get to have a say about this mining company's behaviour in Northern Territory. Well, no. Now that you understand the context and you understand how Aboriginal tribes are actually hundreds of different tribes, separate different people, warring people, they've been at war for thousands of years, they've never been united, they've always been against each other. And, archaeological findings of the battlefields and their weapons of war. And obviously, if you actually know any Aboriginals, you know any proper Aboriginal culture, they're proud about it. You know, I know some Aboriginals that, just like myself, I collect swords and medieval things like this. I collect medieval weaponry, swords, bows and arrows. I know Aboriginals who collect war items from Aboriginal culture. They have war hammers and clubs and war boomerangs and specific war spears that were specifically made to kill other Aboriginals. So, you know what I mean? They have certain hunting spears, and then they have war spears that were specifically made to kill a person. And those spears were designed to kill other Aboriginals. And Aboriginals are they're proud about this. This is their culture. The only ones who try to lie about this and say, oh no, they were all one people, are the communist, anti-white, un-Australian dogs who try to use the Aboriginals to basically turn them against Australia and Australians, all right? And they try to make out as if they are one united people and they need to work and defend themselves as one united people and fight against the white man. And it's only the communist anti-white un-Australians that say that, because all actual proper Aboriginals who actually understand their culture and actually live by their traditions and respect their elders, they know that they all come from separate, different tribes. They're different peoples. They've never been united. There's no Aboriginal united people working together against the white man. That's a lie. It's each individual Aboriginal tribe for himself, and they always have been. And so this gives you a better understanding here. Alawa Elder Naomi Wilfred says all Indigenous communities in the basin need to be consulted. So this is what they're complaining about here with this origin fracking situation, right? Technically I'm environmentalist, I'm against fracking. I don't agree with origin fracking, but at the end of the day, this is the facts of the matter. Origin has legal right to frack. They've actually they've spoken to the local elders of their community where they are doing the fracking, and those local elders, those tribes, have given permission to Origin to do the fracking on their land. And the only people complaining are people who aren't even from that land. And the exact same thing happened with Rio Tinto when they blew up that cave. All right? They had full permission from the elders of that tribe, of that land, to blow up that cave and continue the mining operation. And then a bunch of other Aboriginal elders from other tribes started whinging and complaining. And then ABC started writing articles about these other Aboriginal tribes and elders complaining. But with that, they conveniently left out that it wasn't actually the elders of this tribe. It was just some other random people's opinion. They conveniently left that out. But here we have in this article, they admit it straight away. That the local elders gave full permission. It's only the other people from around the country, specifically university students, Marxists, communist, leftist, anti-white un-Australians, who are pushing this idea as if all Aboriginals have a say in the development of this or that on this land here or that. Okay? Again, fundamentally, this comes down to the anti-white un-Australian notion of communist, Marxist, leftist anti-whites using Aboriginals, using the Aboriginal interests and concerns to turn the Aboriginal people against law and order, against the police, against the government, and against white Australians in order to cause racial conflict, chaos, and general unease and lack of harmony within our nation. It just makes sense if you look at it and you have a brain to think for yourself. But yeah, I actually have evidence. We can go back into the 60s and the 70s in Australia. We can look at different universities and university professors and their books and things that they wrote back in the 70s and the 60s about how they are going to use the Aboriginals to fight and to turn the Aboriginals against the nation and the white Australians so as to destroy our nation and our democracy and then start their own communist uprising. They literally wrote it out in books in the 60s and 70s. Exactly how they planned back in the 60s and 70s to completely destroy our nation. The whole Black Lives Matter thing, that was a part of their plan. They said that back in the 60s. They're going to create Black Lives Matter, and then they're going to piss off the Aboriginals. They're going to destroy the true history and understanding of the Aboriginals so that they don't realise that they're actually separate tribes with unique cultures and unique peoples. Each tribe has slightly unique Dreamtime stories, everything. Alright? They want to destroy that variety, the diversity of Aboriginal tribes and cultures, to unify the Aboriginals into one block that then they can use as their communist foot soldiers to overtake our nation. And just look at the Invasion Day protests from a couple of years ago, when you had the actual main organizer of the Invasion Day protest. Very communist idea, that one. All right, you had that main organizer literally yelling out to the crowd that she wants to burn Australia to the ground. All right. So these Invasion Day protests, the Black Lives Matter, they don't want equality. They don't want peace or not. They want to burn Australia to the ground and defund the police, fire all the police, close down the jails, release all the prisoners into the public, all at the same time, while they burn down the country. And this is what they say themselves. The Invasion Day and Black Lives Matter protesters, essentially the Aboriginals being motivated and moved into action to work to disrupt our democracy and peaceful nation. Can't really explain it any better than I have, I guess. If you're not following and you can't comprehend what I'm saying, then you're probably too slow. But if you've got a brain, you understand exactly what I'm saying, and you know exactly what we need to do. We need to make people more aware of this anti-whiteism, this destruction. And fundamentally, we need to really get back to that notion, that understanding that there is no one Aboriginal people. There's no such thing as the Aboriginal. There's the Aboriginal peoples, or the Aboriginal tribes, plural, multiple. All right. It's just like you have Europeans. You got German. You've got Australian. You've got English. You've got New Zealand. You've got American, Italian. We can go on and on and on. All different tribes of European. That's the same with Aboriginals. They're different tribes, different nations. There's not one Aboriginal people. Like there's one Australian people. It's more like one European people, one white people, and one Aboriginal people. But you break it down and it's all separate nations and separate tribes with different languages, different cultures, everything. You can't lump them all into one group and then try to make them all fight for each other or for the one thing. They can work together, sure, but they can't ignore their individual differences and their own unique interests. Because that would be the destruction of Aboriginals and their culture. So how ironic is this? That at the end of the day, somebody like myself, who's true blue Aussie and fights for a white Australia, actually is trying to protect and maintain Aboriginal peoples, their culture and uniqueness. Whereas those who fight against a white Australia and support multiculturalism, they actually actively fight and work to destroy the Aboriginal peoples and their cultures so as to amalgamize them into one block, one people, instead of individual unique tribes with unique cultures. They want to destroy all of that uniqueness, mix them into one Aboriginal people so that they can just use them to fight against the white Australians and to just destroy our nation. How disgusting. So, from now on, you have a bit of better understanding, a bit of better context, alright? And hopefully you can start to help other people understand the truth of this and the actual context of this matter. That those of us who are fighting for a white Australia and to stop multiculturalism and just essentially to protect the rights and the well-being of white people, to protect white children. Nothing wrong with that. If you think there is, you're a monster, okay? Why the fuck do you want to hurt children? You're the bad guy, not us, sorry. Doesn't matter what names you want to call us. Call us racist all day. You're still the one that wants to harm children while we're protecting white children. So we're the good guys, you're the bad guys. You can scream and yell as much as you like. Doesn't change the story. But not only this, we're actually the ones fighting to protect the uniqueness of the Aboriginals and Aboriginal cultures. Whereas those who want multiculturalism and for everyone to mix together, they just want to destroy the Aboriginals and destroy Aboriginal culture. So I'll wrap it up with saying that companies like Rio Tinto and Origin, according to the local elders of the tribes who own the land they're working in, have permission to do what they're doing, and these companies are actually the good guys helping to protect and uphold Aboriginal culture. And it's those complaining, those in the universities, those whinging and bitching and trying to say that all Aboriginals are the same people and they all have a say in all lands anywhere of any tribe. They are the ones who are evil and actually destroying Aboriginals and their culture. So take it easy and remember, the choice is up to you. What do you want to do? Do you want to live your life in a way that you help those who are destroying the Aboriginals and their culture? Or do you want to start living like myself, if you're not already, and actually start helping to protect the Aboriginals and their unique individual cultures? Or do you want to join the bad guys and try to attack us and complain and try to lie about what we're doing, try to make out as if we're the bad guys while you destroy the Aboriginals and their culture? Because that's the only two choices you have. I hope you make the right choice.